The punk rock movement of the mid-70s had two cities that were real frontrunners in terms of shaping the movement. One was New York City with bands like Television, Patti Smith and the Ramones, and the other was London with bands like the Sex Pistols, The Damned, and this band, The Clash. This is maybe their most famous track, and the title is apparently a reference to radio broadcasts that were given out to occupied countries during World War II. So it has a very interesting origin story. This is my very first track I'm listening to by The Clash, and it is a donator suggested track. So shout out to Fast Eddie for having me listen to this, and this should be an interesting one. I've heard American punk so far. This is essentially my first taste of British punk, so let's get into it. This is London Calling by The Clash. I like this rhythmic element to it. It's pretty cool. The guitar too.
London calling to the faraway towns. Now war is declared and battle come down. London calling to the underworld. Come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls. London calling, now don't look to us. Phony Beatlemania has bitten the dust. London calling, see we ain't got no swing except for the rain and the truncheon thing, the ices.
Okay, really cool. I love the kind of defiantness of the track with that kind of rhythmic style that everything is in sync to, and the way he's also delivering his lyrics sounds very defiant. I think it fits the idea that this was inspired by those radio broadcasts. But I like what he's done here, where some of the lyrics can refer to just that, a radio broadcast to occupied people in other countries who have been, fighting against the Germans, or I should say against the Germans. And then the idea of it being in context of just the band itself, right? So like take a line like this. London calling to the underworld, come out of the cupboard, you boys and girls. That is, of course, a reference to a radio broadcast given to people who are hiding as shelter in their homes from German bombardment. But at the same time, the next line is about how Beatlemania is over and you guys need to get out of this kind of craze you're in. There's new music. Punk is alive. Maybe embrace what we have going on here. I like the duality of this. Let's back it up a little bit and go again.
Except for the rain and the truncheon thing, the ice is coming, the sun's zooming in. Meltdown expected, the wheat is good thin. Engines stop running, but I have no fear, cause London is drowning. I live by the river, to the imitation zone. Forget it, brother, you can go it alone. London calling to the zombies of death. Quit holding out and draw another breath. London calling, and I don't wanna shout, but while we were talking, I saw you nodding out. London calling, see we ain't got no hide, except for that one with the yellowy eyes.
Okay, one thing about punk music that I'm learning is I had a kind of conception of what it is because I've seen some live performances of it, and it's incredibly like almost animalistic. It's like a release of anger and energy when it's live. But it made me not focus on the writing, because the lyrical aspect of it seems to always be witty, kind of cutting, has an edge to it, which I really love. And the theme that I was speaking about seems to be playing out again. The idea of like, he's using the backdrop of speaking to people coming out of war, the idea of zombies coming out, quit holding out and draw another breath, come out and fight. But it's also in reference to the idea that this is a new movement of music, and maybe to break the concepts of old before, which I think a lot of punk music is about. It's about breaking what is there before, like hating the glamorized aspect of where rock was at the time. And of course, Nirvana used that to the maximum against like hair metal in 91. Let's back it up again.
One with the yellowy eyes, the ice is coming, the sun's zooming in, engines stop running, the wheat is going big, a nuclear error, but I have no fear, cause London is drowning. I live by the river.
this. What? Punk rock with a guitar solo.
The ice age is coming, the sun's zooming in, engines stop running, the wheat is going thin, a nuclear arrow, but I have no fear, 'cause London is drowning and I live by the river. Now get this! London calling, yes, I was there too. And you know what they said? Well, some of it was true. London calling at the top of the dial. And after all this, won't you give me a smile? London calling.
Those guitars in the back, man. Whoa. Okay. I really, really, really like that track, man. Especially like musically, I think it surprised me a lot, especially with the stuff that was going on where it almost made it sound like it's a radio broadcast. That was really clever. I love what they did there. One thing that really sticks out of me with this track is the duality of what the band is, right? It's got this kind of animal anger. The emotions are free. I'm not a product in the same way that like a normal rock band is, trying to be all pretty and nice. You know, he even speaks kind of in a way that is delivered brutally, like brutishly, I should say, but it's at the same time really clever with what it's trying to say, especially with the duality in the song. And right there, I think, is the basis of what like punk rock music is, right? It's to speak about the social faux pas of the time, the things that they felt were wrong, and I felt like the rhythmic aspect of the track was great too. All in all, a super interesting song. In terms of like loving punk music, it sits, I think, really far from where I think hip-hop is sound-wise, but the element, the spirit of hip-hop music, the underlying message of punk rock music, I think really sits with hip-hop really well, because I've said it before, hip-hop was all about breaking the rules, especially if you think about the start of hip-hop, which was done using the electricity from the city grid to use the sampling machines that they were using, breaking up and using old elements of music to create something new, breakdancing, graffiti, all of this is like against the system, and I think it sits with punk rock music really well in that sense. But all in all, a really interesting track. Shout out to Fast Eddie for having me listen to this one, and other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next one.